The first thing Jenna did was look at my left hand. Not my face, not my toolbox, my hand. Then she smiled like she had been holding her breath for years and said, "You seem like a good man. I hope you're not married." I froze on her porch with my tools digging into my palm and the cold March wind cutting through my hoodie. I had been called a lot of things in my life. Quiet, reliable, hard-headed, but good man from a woman I had never met. Felt like a door opening in a house I did not plan to walk into. I let out a short laugh, half awkward, half surprised. "No," I said. "Not married." Her eyes stayed on me for a second longer than they needed to. Warm brown, steady, like she could see the whole truth even when I tried to hide it behind jokes. Then she tilted her head and said, "So do we have a chance?" The question hit me harder than the wind. A chance at what, Jenna? A fence? A coffee? A mistake? But she was still standing there in a flannel shirt with paint on her knuckles, curls falling across her cheek, and a look on her face like she had already decided something about me. I swallowed. "I'm Noah," I said, because my brain needed something normal to grab onto. "I'm here for the fence." Jenna blinked like she forgot the fence existed. Then she stepped aside and nodded toward the backyard. "Right," she said softly. "Come on, I'll show you. My name's Noah. I'm 24. I'm a handyman in a small town outside Fort Collins, Colorado. I fix whatever people don't want to deal with. Rotten boards, leaky pipes, fences that lean like they're tired of holding up. It's honest work, and I like that. I like the way a job has a clear start and finish, because my life doesn't. I rent a one-bedroom apartment on the edge of town. Cheap rent. Peeling paint. A faucet that drips all night if I don't tighten it. I keep telling myself I'll fix it, but I never do. Maybe because fixing other people's stuff is easier than facing my own. Most mornings I wake up before sunrise, check my phone for new jobs, load my beat-up blue Ford pickup with tools, and head out. I don't have a girlfriend, haven't in a while. A few flings that ended before they got real. I tell myself I like it that way, but some nights get too quiet and the lie feels thin. I left home at 18. My dad drank too much. My mom worried too much. I got tired of both. I learned early that if you don't depend on anyone, you can't be disappointed. That was my rule. Then I got a text that morning from an unknown number. "Need someone to fix a fence in my backyard. Can you come by today? 1427 Pineview Lane." No emoji. No name. Just an address like an order. I texted back, "Sure. I'll be there by 10. By the time I pulled onto Pineview Lane, the wind was humming through the pines like it had somewhere to be. The neighborhood was quiet. The kind with gravel driveways and mailboxes shaped like barns. The Rockies sat in the distance, still holding winter on their shoulders. Jenna's house was a single-story place with a white porch and climbing roses curled around the windows. A wooden wind chime swayed by the porch light, tapping out soft notes like it was trying to talk to the air. The fence in the backyard was a mess. Rotted posts, slats warped and split, vines choking the wood like they owned it, gaps wide enough for a dog to slip through. It looked like it had been slowly giving up since the last big snow. I walked up the gravel path with my toolbox and raised my hand to knock. The door swung open before my knuckles touched it. And there she was. Jenna was tall, late 30s, with dark, curly hair tied loose and a few strands falling across her face. She wore faded jeans with dirt on the knees and an old flannel shirt with the sleeves rolled up. White paint smudged her knuckles like she had been working on something before I arrived. Her face looked tired but kind, the way someone looks when they've carried too much alone. She smelled faintly like jasmine, mixed with clean morning air. "You're Noah?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "I'm here for the fence." That's when she looked at my hand, smiled, and said the words that made my chest tighten. "You seem like a good man. I hope you're not married." I had no smooth answer ready. I wasn't used to women like her, women who spoke like they meant things. So I went with the truth and a joke. "Not married," I said. "Just me, my tape measure, and a hammer." Jenna laughed. A real laugh, bright, warm, the kind that makes you want to hear it again later, even if you don't admit it. Good to know, she said, stepping aside. Fence is out back. Come on. She led me through the yard past a small garden with red tulips poking up like they were brave enough to believe spring would win. An old apple tree stood near the fence line, gnarled and quiet, like it had stories it didn't tell strangers. She pointed out the worst spots, explaining how last winter's storms had torn it apart. As she gestured, her hand brushed my arm, quick and accidental, but my body noticed it anyway. A small spark in a place that had been cold for a while. I cleared my throat and focused on my notebook like it could save me. You want coffee before you start? Jenna asked. I held up my gas station cup. I've got it covered. She raised an eyebrow. That's not coffee, she said. That's regret in a cup. I laughed, surprised at how easy it felt. Fair, I said. Maybe I'll take you up on real coffee tomorrow. Deal, she replied, and her smile stayed on my face longer than it should have. I started measuring the fence, writing down numbers, planning posts and slats, trying to pretend this was just another job. But Jenna stood there watching me like she was reading more than wood and nails. Most guys who work with their hands don't carry themselves like you, she said. I glanced up. How do I carry myself? Quote. She took a slow breath, like she was choosing her words carefully. Like you're trying not to need anything, she said. My throat tightened. That hit too close. Too true. I looked back down at the rotted post, grateful for something broken I could fix. Maybe I just like simple, I said. Jenna's voice turned softer. Simple isn't always safe, she said. Sometimes it's just lonely. The wind chime tapped behind us. The mountains sat quiet in the distance. And for a second, the whole yard felt like it was holding its breath. Jenna crossed her arms and kept watching me. Then she said it again. Slower this time, like she wanted to see if I'd run. So, she murmured, do we have a chance? Her question sat between us like a nail I could not pull out. I stared at the broken fence post, pretending to study the rot like it was the most interesting thing in the world. But my ears were hot, and my heart was thumping too hard for a simple job call. A chance at what? I asked, still looking down. Jenna's boots shifted on the grass. I could feel her watching me, not in a pushy way, more like she was waiting to see if I was the kind of man who disappeared the moment things got real. At something honest, she said. At two people being decent to each other. I'm tired of guessing. I looked up then. The wind pushed a strand of her hair across her cheek. She didn't brush it away. She just held my gaze. I barely know you, I said. That's why I asked, she replied. Because I don't want to spend months pretending I'm not curious. The truth was, I was curious too. I had been curious since she opened the door and smiled like I mattered. But curiosity had gotten me hurt before. I learned to keep my life clean and simple. No mess, no attachments. Still, I heard my own voice answer before my brain could stop it. I don't know, I said, but I'd like to find out. Jenna's shoulders relaxed like she had been holding them tight. Her smile was small but real. Okay, she said. That's all I needed. I cleared my throat and forced myself back into work mode. The fence is bad, I said, pointing. A few posts are rotted all the way through. I'll need new treated wood, fresh slats, and to cut back those vines. Jenna nodded. Whatever you need, just tell me. You want me to start today? I asked. Yes, she said, if you can. So I did. I went back to my truck, grabbed my post puller, shovel, and a stack of stakes. The air was cold enough to make my fingers stiff, but once I started digging, my body warmed. The work was familiar. Honest. It made sense. Jenna didn't disappear inside like most clients. She stayed out there, watching, sometimes walking over to pull vines away so I could see the damage. Every once in a while, I'd glance up and catch her eyes on me, like she was studying a painting she did not want to admit she liked. After an hour, she came back with a mug in each hand. Real coffee, she said. I wiped my hands on my jeans and took it. The mug was warm ceramic, and the coffee smelled rich, not like burnt gas station sludge. I took a sip and felt heat spread through my chest. That's good, I said. Jenna smirked. Told you your cup was regret." I laughed, and it surprised me how natural it felt, like I hadn't laughed in a while without forcing it. We stood there by the fence line sipping coffee while the wind moved through the pines. The mountains sat quiet in the distance, white at the tips, like they were still deciding if spring was allowed. "You do this alone?" Jenna asked. "Most of the time," I said. "Some jobs I bring a buddy if it's heavy, but usually it's just me." She nodded slowly. "You seem like you've been doing things alone for a long time." I shrugged. "It's easier." Jenna didn't argue, she just said, "Easier isn't always better." Quote. That same line again, like she was pulling at a thread in me. I set my mug down on a stump and went back to digging. I pulled out a post that crumbled in my hands. The wood was wet and soft, like it had been giving up for years. "That's the worst one," I said. Jenna watched it fall apart. "Kinda how I felt," she admitted. The words were quiet, but they landed hard. I paused with the shovel in my hands. "You don't have to tell me anything," I said. "I'm just here to fix the fence." Jenna's laugh was soft. "I know," she said. "But it's hard not to talk when someone actually listens." I didn't know what to say, so I kept working, but I could feel my chest tighten. Because I did listen, and I didn't know why I was letting myself. Around noon, Jenna insisted on lunch. She brought out turkey sandwiches, chips, and lemonade with lemon slices floating on top. We sat on the porch steps with the sun warming our backs. "This is nice," I said without thinking. Jenna looked at me. "It is," she agreed. It's been a long time since I sat with someone and didn't feel like I had to perform. Quote. I chewed slowly, not sure what to do with that. "What do you do?" I asked, keeping it light. Jenna smiled faintly. "I used to design interiors in Denver," she said. "Offices, homes, the whole fancy world." "Used to?" I asked. She nodded. Her eyes drifted to the apple tree in the yard. "I moved here after things changed." I knew better than to push. I had my own things I didn't like talking about. But the way she said it made my stomach twist with curiosity. After lunch, we went back to the fence. She helped when she could, holding boards steady, handing me nails, stepping back when I lifted heavy posts. Her hands were calloused from gardening, and that made her feel more real to me, less like some perfect woman I'd never belonged near. By late afternoon, we had 2 new posts set. The fresh wood looked bright against the old fence line. I packed up my tools and wiped sweat from my forehead. "I'll be back tomorrow," I said. "Should take me a couple days to finish it right." Jenna nodded. "I'll be here," she said, then hesitated. I paused at the gate, looking back. "What?" Quote. Her cheeks flushed just a little. "About what I said earlier," she murmured. "The chance thing." My heart kicked. "Yeah?" Jenna took a breath. "I'm not trying to rush you," she said. I'm lonely, Noah, and I'm tired of pretending I'm not." The honesty in her voice made my throat tight. I wanted to say, "Me too." I wanted to say, "I know what lonely tastes like at midnight, when the apartment is quiet and your phone stays dark." But instead, I said the safer truth. "I'll see you tomorrow," I said gently. Jenna smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes this time. "Yeah," she said. "Tomorrow." I drove home with my hands still smelling like treated wood and coffee. The heater rattled in my truck. The road was empty. The sky over the mountains turned pink and gold, and I kept hearing her voice in my head. "I'm lonely, Noah." That night, my apartment felt smaller than usual. The faucet dripped. The walls creaked. I lay on my bed staring at the ceiling, trying to tell myself she was just a client. But the truth was, she didn't feel like one. The next morning, I pulled into Pine View Lane early. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. The air was colder, frost clinging to the grass like a thin sheet. The wind chime tapped softly as I walked up. Jenna opened the door before I knocked. She had 2 mugs in her hands, and her eyes looked like she hadn't slept. "Noah," she said quietly, stepping aside. "Can I tell you something?" The way she said it made my chest tighten. "Yeah," I replied. Jenna's voice dropped, like the house itself might hear. "I'm a widow," she said. And I haven't said that out loud to a man in a long time. The word widow landed between us like a weight. Jenna stood in her doorway holding 2 mugs of coffee, her fingers wrapped tight around the handles like she needed something solid. Her eyes looked tired, but calm too, like she had finally said a truth she had been swallowing for years. I didn't know what to say. I just nodded, because anything else felt like it might break her. "I'm sorry," I said. The words sounded small, but they were all I had. Jenna let out a slow breath and glanced toward the yard like the wind chime might rescue her from the moment. "His name was Mark," she said quietly. "He died 3 years ago. Car accident on I-25. Black ice." My chest tightened. I pictured that highway, the way it curves and opens, the way winter can turn it into a trap. I had driven it a dozen times without thinking about how fast life can change. "I don't talk about it much," she added. "People get uncomfortable. They either pity you or rush you to be okay." I swallowed. "You don't have to be okay," I said. Jenna looked at me then. "That's the thing," she said. "I'm okay most days. I go to the store. I plant tulips. I cook dinner. I smile at neighbors. But then a morning like this happens and I realize I'm still alone in a way I can't explain." The air was cold enough to sting my lungs. I stepped onto the porch, careful not to crowd her, and took the mug she offered. "Thank you," I said, and meant it for the coffee and for the trust. Jenna nodded and sat on the porch steps. I sat 1 step down from her, keeping space, letting her choose the distance. The wind chime tapped softly above us. The mountains in the distance looked sharp and bright, like they didn't care what happened to anyone. "You asked me yesterday if we have a chance," I said, voice low. "Is that what you meant?" Jenna's mouth tightened, like she had been waiting for that question. "I meant I don't want to keep living in a glass house," she said. "I don't want to keep acting like I'm fine when I'm not, and I don't want to want something and pretend I don't." I stared at my coffee. "I'm not good at wanting," I admitted. Jenna's eyes softened. "I can tell," she said. "You live like you're always ready to leave." That hit too close, because it was true. I had been ready to leave since I was 18. Ready to pack up, disappear, start over before anyone could hurt me. "I don't want to hurt you," I said. Jenna's laugh was quiet and sad. "Noah, you couldn't hurt me the way life already has," she said. "But you could waste my time. And I could waste yours." Quote. I looked at her, really looked at her. She wasn't asking for a promise. She was asking for honesty. That felt scarier than flirting. "I don't know what I'm doing," I said. "I'm 24. I work out of a truck. My apartment faucet leaks, and I keep ignoring it like it's a personality trait." That got a small smile out of her, the kind that made her eyes crinkle at the corners. "And I'm not a plan," Jenna said. "I know that. I'm not trying to turn you into a husband. I'm just trying to see if we can be something simple and real." Simple and real. Those words sounded like home and danger at the same time. I took a breath and nodded. "Okay," I said. "We can try, but we go slow. And we stay honest." Jenna's shoulders relaxed like she had been bracing for rejection. "Deal," she said. We finished our coffee and walked to the backyard together. The fence waited like an excuse to keep my hands busy. I liked that. My hands knew what to do even when my heart didn't. I worked on the new posts, digging holes, setting treated wood deep. Jenna stayed nearby, pulling vines, stacking old slats, handing me nails when I needed them. Every now and then, our fingers touched by accident. It wasn't dramatic. It was small, but each time, my chest tightened, like my body was waking up after a long nap. Around midday, the sky shifted. Clouds rolled in over the Rockies, thick and gray. The wind picked up, pushing through the pines like it was changing its mind about spring. Jenna looked up and squinted. "That looks like trouble," she said. "Colorado loves drama," I replied. She laughed, and it warmed me more than the sun ever could. The first drops of rain came fast. Not a gentle drizzle, a sharp, cold spill from the sky. I reached for my tarp, but the wind snapped it like a flag. "Inside?" Jenna said, grabbing my arm. Her touch made my brain stall for a second. Warm hand, firm grip. Then she pulled me toward the back door like she had done it 100 times. We stumbled into her kitchen soaked, laughing without meaning to. Her kitchen smelled like basil and coffee and something sweet I couldn't name. She tossed me a towel. I wiped my face and tried not to stare at her, because her hair was damp, curls clinging to her cheeks, and she looked like a woman from a life I didn't think I deserved. "You're dripping all over my floor," she teased. "Your floor should be honored." I shot back. Jenna laughed again, and this time it wasn't sad at all. It was bright, alive. She made us grilled cheese like it was the most normal thing in the world. We sat at her small oak table while rain hammered the windows. The wind shook the branches of the apple tree outside. The storm made the house feel like its own little world. Halfway through eating, Jenna went quiet. She stared at her sandwich like it had something to confess. "What?" I asked. She looked up. "I keep waiting for the moment where you regret being here," she admitted. My throat tightened. Why would I regret it? Quote. Jenna swallowed. "Because everyone eventually chooses the easier thing," she said. "Mark was the one who stayed. He was the one who made the world feel safe. After he died, I told myself I'd never let anyone close again. But then you showed up with your toolbox and your gas station coffee, and you looked at me like I was a person, not a tragedy." I set my sandwich down. "Jenna," I said carefully, "I'm not here because I feel sorry for you." "I know," she whispered. "That's what scares me." The rain hit harder. A crack of thunder rolled across the sky, close enough to make the windows rattle. Jenna flinched without meaning to. Instinct took over, and I reached across the table and covered her hand with mine. Her skin was warm. Her fingers trembled once, then stilled. We stayed like that, hands touching, both of us quiet. The storm made the air feel thick, like the world was holding its breath. Jenna's voice came out soft. "I don't want to be alone anymore," she said. I swallowed hard. "Me neither," I admitted, and the truth surprised me as it left my mouth. Jenna's eyes lifted to mine, searching for lies. "I didn't have one ready." She squeezed my hand. "Then don't disappear," she said. That hit me straight in the chest. Because disappearing was what I did best. Leaving before anyone could ask for more. Leaving before I had to admit I cared. "I won't," I said, and I meant it in that moment. The storm eased after an hour, the rain slowing to a steady drip. We went back outside. The yard smelled like wet earth and pine needles. The fence looked darker from the water, but it stood strong where I had replaced the posts. Jenna walked with me along the line, inspecting the work. "It looks good," she said. "It'll look better when it's finished," I replied. She stopped near the apple tree and turned toward me. The air was cool, and a drop of water slid off a branch and landed on her shoulder. "You know," she said, voice low, "when I asked if you were married, I wasn't trying to be bold." I raised an eyebrow. "What were you trying to be?" "Hopeful," she said, for the first time in a long time. My chest tightened. I didn't trust myself to answer, so I just stood there, letting the silence speak. Jenna stepped closer, not touching me, but close enough that I could smell jasmine and rain on her sweater. Her eyes flicked to my mouth for half a second, then back up. I felt the pull, strong and scary, the kind that makes you want to jump and run at the same time. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from a different client asking if I could take a job in Loveland tomorrow morning. Good money. Quick work. I stared at the screen, then slipped the phone back into my pocket without replying. Jenna watched me. "You don't have to choose me," she said quietly. "I'm not asking for that." I met her eyes. "I'm not choosing you over work," I said. "I'm choosing to come back." Jenna's lips parted like she wanted to say something, but the words got caught. Then she nodded once, like she accepted the promise. "Tomorrow," she said. "Tomorrow," I echoed. As I walked back to my truck, my clothes still damp, my hands still smelling like wet wood, I realized something that scared me. Fixing the fence was the easy part. The hard part was what Jenna was building in me, without even trying, a reason to stay. The next morning, I almost didn't go. Not because I didn't want to see Jenna, but because wanting to see her felt like walking into a room with no exit. My whole life I'd been good at leaving home at 18, leaving jobs when they got complicated, leaving people before they could want too much. Staying was the part one never practiced. I woke up before sunrise in my creaky apartment with the leaky faucet still dripping like a metronome. The air was cold, and my ceiling looked the same as always, stained in one corner from a leak the landlord promised to fix 2 years ago. My phone buzzed with a reminder of the Loveland job. Good money, quick work, safe, simple. Then it buzzed again. A text from Jenna. Coffee's on. No pressure. Just wanted you to know. I stared at the screen until my chest felt tight. No pressure. Just wanted you to know. That was Jenna. Honest. Gentle. Still brave enough to reach out first. I got out of bed, pulled on my jeans, and loaded my truck. When I pulled into Pineview Lane, the wind chime was already tapping, soft and steady. The sky was bright and clear, the Rockies sharp against the morning, and the yard looked washed clean from yesterday's storm. Jenna opened the back door before I even reached the gate. She had 2 mugs in her hands like she had been waiting for me. You came, she said, and her voice carried relief she tried to hide. Yeah, I said, I came. We stood there a second too long, just looking at each other. Her hair was tied back, but a few curls escaped around her face. She wore a simple sweater and faded jeans. No makeup, no performance. Just her. We drank coffee on the porch steps while the sun warmed the wood beneath us. The silence between us didn't feel scary today. It felt like something we were learning. I didn't sleep much, Jenna admitted. Me neither, I said. She laughed softly. We're a mess. Yeah, I replied, but at least we're honest messes. Jenna's eyes crinkled, and for a moment I saw the woman she used to be before grief made her quiet. The designer, the wife, the person who planned things. Then her expression shifted, like she remembered something heavy. I have to tell you something, she said. My stomach tightened. Okay, I said carefully. She took a breath. I haven't been on a date since Mark, she admitted. Not one. I didn't even let myself think about it. And now here you are, fixing my fence, drinking coffee on my porch, and I feel something. That scares me. I nodded slowly. It scares me too, I admitted. Jenna studied my face. Why? She asked. I looked out at the yard. The tulips were bright. The apple tree was still bare, but its branches looked like they were waking up. Because I don't know how to do this without running, I said. Jenna's voice softened. Then don't run, she said. Just tell me when you're scared. I can handle scared. I can't handle silence. Her words hit me hard because silence was my specialty. Silence was how I protected myself. I'll try, I said. Try isn't a promise, she replied, but she wasn't harsh, just honest. I nodded. Then here's a promise, I said, forcing the words out. I'm not disappearing. If I need space, I'll say it. If I'm overwhelmed, I'll say it. But I'm not going to leave you guessing. Jenna's eyes went glassy, but she blinked fast and looked down at her mug. Thank you, she whispered. We finished the fence that day. The last few posts went in straight. The sealant went on smooth. The vines were trimmed back and piled in a heap like dead history. When I stepped back, the fence looked solid, clean and new, like it could handle a storm without giving up. Jenna stood beside me with her arms crossed, watching it. You did good, she said. It'll hold, I replied. She glanced at me. That's not what I meant. My throat tightened. Jenna, I started, but she lifted a hand. I'm not asking you to save me, she said. I'm not looking for someone to replace Mark. I hate that people even think that's what widows do. I don't think that, I said quickly. I know, she replied. That's why this feels different. The air was warm for March, the kind of day that makes you believe winter might actually leave. The wind chime played soft notes like it approved of the moment. Jenna walked to the porch and came back with a small paper bag. I got something for you, she said. I frowned. You don't need to pay me extra. It's not that, she said, and she held out the bag. Inside was a piece of pie wrapped in foil. I blinked. Is that homemade? Jenna smiled. Apple, she said, from the store, because my tree still refuses to do its job, but I made the crust. I used to bake when Mark was alive, stopped for a long time. Then, yesterday, after you left, I found myself wanting to do it again. Something in my chest pulled tight. That's a big deal, I said. It is, she admitted, and I wanted you to have the first slice. Because you're part of why I tried. I didn't trust myself, so I just nodded and took the bag carefully like it was fragile. Thank you, I said. Jenna stepped closer. Her eyes were warm but nervous too. Noah, she said quietly, I meant what I asked you. About the chance? I asked. She nodded. Yes. I took a breath. The truth was right there, and I was tired of hiding from it. I think we do, I said. If we go slow, if we keep it real, if we don't pretend we're not scared. Jenna's smile trembled. I can do slow, she said. Me too, I replied. She reached out and touched my forearm, the same place her hand brushed me on the first day. This time it wasn't an accident. It was a choice. Then she leaned in and kissed me. It wasn't a movie kiss. It wasn't dramatic. It was soft and careful, like we were both asking the other person for permission at the same time. When she pulled back, her forehead rested lightly against mine. I'm still scared, she whispered. Me too, I said, but I'm here. Jenna closed her eyes for a second like she was trying to believe it. Then her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, glanced at the screen, and her face shifted. What? I asked. Jenna swallowed. It's my mother-in-law, she said. Mark's mom. My chest tightened. Is everything okay? Jenna looked at me, and I saw conflict in her eyes. Love and loyalty and old grief all mixed together. She wants to come by today, Jenna said. She said she needs to talk. I waited. Jenna's voice dropped. She doesn't know about you, she admitted. She still calls Mark's side of the family my real life, like anything after him would be wrong. I felt that old instinct in me rise up, the urge to step back, to protect myself, to disappear before I became a problem. But Jenna reached for my hand first, holding it tight. I don't want to hide you, she said, but I'm not ready for a fight. I squeezed her hand. Then we don't fight today, I said. We take it one step at a time. Jenna nodded, her shoulders easing just a little. I can leave, I offered. Give you space. She shook her head. No, she said, not because I need you to stand here like a shield, but because I want you in my life, even if it's messy. The words warmed me and scared me at the same time. Okay, I said. An hour later, Mark's mom pulled into the driveway. An older woman stepped out, wearing a heavy coat, her face set in a look that meant she had come to control the day. She walked up the porch steps and stopped when she saw me. Her eyes narrowed. Jenna's hand tightened in mine. This is Noah, Jenna said, voice steady. He fixed the fence. Mark's mom looked at the new fence, then back at me like she didn't care about wood. And who are you to Jenna? She asked sharply. The question hung in the air like a storm cloud. Jenna turned to me, her eyes pleading for truth, but also begging me not to run. I took a breath. I'm someone who cares about her, I said. And I'm trying to be here if she'll let me. Mark's mom's face tightened like she was tasting something bitter. Jenna's voice stayed calm but firm. I'm still Mark's wife in your heart, she said, but I'm not dead. Silence hit hard. The wind chime tapped once, like it underlined her words. Mark's mom opened her mouth, ready to argue, but Jenna lifted her chin and held her ground. And in that moment, I realized what a chance with Jenna really meant. It wasn't just coffee and kisses. It was showing up when the past tried to pull her back. It was standing beside her while she chose her own life. Jenna looked at me, her eyes shining with fear and strength. Do we have a chance? She whispered, almost to herself this time. I squeezed her hand. Yeah, I said, we do. And for the first time, staying didn't feel like a trap. It felt like a choice.